Hello and welcome to Allan's Ancestors. I'm here in Southampton Cemetery, Southampton Old Cemetery that is. It's the main link between Hill Lane and Southampton Common. You can walk through it and look around the cemetery, look around the tombstones, which I've done many times. I've run through it, walked through it to the Common. I've taken photographs of some of the great headstones and statues that are around here. And all those times I never knew I had ancestors buried here. Not until I did my family history. In this first video, we're going to show you how to get started with your family history and discover all sorts of things about your family. So if you're looking to do your family history, you're not sure where to start, hopefully this first video will help you out. So where do we begin? With most things, you begin with what you know. And this is going to be the same case here as well. What we're going to do is we're going to make notes of what we know. You can use a notepad if you want to. You can use a PC. I'm using my phone. And what we're going to do is start off with verified facts, so things we actually know for sure. So if we look at this, I know for sure that my dad's name was Frederick George Gage, but everyone called him Joe. I know that he was born on the 12th of June 1923, and I know that he died on the 26th of March 1983 in Southampton. I've not put a birthplace for him. It's not a verified fact. I don't have any proof of that. I have proof of the others because I knew him, of course. So those are the verified facts. And next we're going to do is, you could call them unverified facts, but I think I'm going to call them rumours. They're things that we either quite sure they're true or they've heard they're true, but you can't verify it. So they're going to be called rumours. So the first rumour, as I'm going to call it, is that he was born in Taunton in Somerset. He sometimes said he was born in Taunton, raised in Southampton. I've got no reason to disbelieve that. I just haven't verified it with a birth certificate or anything else yet. The next thing we're going to verify is that my dad's dad died when my dad was a baby. That's something that he told me. Again, I've got no reason to believe it's not true. I just haven't got the proof of it. It's all about verifying facts. The next rumour I have is that my granddad's name was Joe, or Joseph, and that's why my dad was nicknamed Joe all his life, because when his dad died, when my dad was a baby, everybody called him Joe. The next rumour we have is that he had cousins called Monk, which indicates his mother's maiden name was Monk. There's also a rumour that someone in the family was a butcher. I've got no idea who. The next rumour we have is that his stepfather was called Lovelace. He had a stepbrother called Peter, but he had a half-brother whose name I'm not sure of. I actually met Peter once, so I know he does exist, but that might be like my father's name was Joe. Was his name actually Peter, or was it just his nickname? My dad was in the Royal Navy in World War II and the Merchant Navy afterwards. Now, those are strong rumours, I'd say, but why I've put them here is in future videos we'll be looking at World War II Navy records and also Merchant Navy records and cards and everything else like that. My dad had tattoos on his forearms, and one of them had the name of Gwen on it. I believe that was his first wife. That was what I heard. It may be that they were just a couple and they never got married. I don't know. So, again, something that's not verified. I believe he had a daughter with his first wife. I put it there, although it was sort of verified by my mum, who sometimes talked about her. I'll put it there because I don't know her name at this stage. Well, I do, but for this video, I don't. He sometimes said that he had an aunt in the USA who had an orange farm in Florida. Sure, I would have heard something more about that if it was true. But hey, we'll soon find out. So that's what we're going to work with. Now, the first thing, because we know the facts of his date of birth, and his name, we can start there. So that's what we're going to do now. So how we're going to build the tree just from my dad's name and date of birth is by using these two websites. Free BMD homepage and the General Register Office. Now, Free BMD is, as it says, completely free, and it is the birth, marriage, and death record references that you'll need to get certificates. You'll see what I mean in just a moment. So, without further ado, let's get started. If we look at search, you can search by using that button there or that one there. And so here we are. Now, let's just go at this from the point of view of getting my dad's birth certificate reference numbers to start with. So it's a birth. Surname is Gange. First name is Frederick. And the date range is March 1923 to December 1923. Although we know the date of birth is the 12th of June 1923, we don't know when it was registered. Now, obviously, it wouldn't have been registered before, but I'm just doing that as a safeguard, as it were. But we don't know when it was registered afterwards. You can drill down into counties. One of the rumours is that he was born in Taunton in Somerset, and like I say, I've got no reason to disbelieve that. But let's look at all of the Frederick Ganges who were born in 1923, and we'll filter it from there. So let's press find. And here we have Frederick George Gange. Mother's maiden name is Monk. District is Taunton. And the volume and the page numbers are pretty much what they say. So you imagine books of all these records. So this would be volume 5C, and it'll be on page 427. So if we go along here, so we've got surname, first name, mother, which is the maiden name, and district, Taunton, volume 5C, page 427. You see the info there and the spectacles. You can actually look at the original records that were transcribed. They're less important from the 20th century because they were typewritten. If I show you this, view original, and so as you can see from this, it is typewritten. So Frederick G. Gange. So as you can see, there's not much point in looking at the original. The only reason you'd want to is probably if it's a Victorian record, it would have been handwritten in the ledger, and one of the transcribers, in this case Denny, has transcribed it. They've not made a mistake here, but you can make mistakes from transcribing. The page gives us all the people who are all the births for that district in that quarter. Now, if you look at the quarter, it is September 1923. So the quarters are January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So it would appear that he was born in June and it was registered in July. So what do we do with this information? Let's go back to the original here. So birth September 1923. So what you do here is, with this information, go to the General Record Office, order a digital image. You could order a certificate or PDF. I'll talk about those in a second. But search indexes to find a record and click through to purchase an image. This is for births 1837 to 1923, so we just snuck in there. And deaths 1837 to 1957. So if I click on that, and we go to birth, 1923, eventually, it's 1915, it's a bit sensitive. Surname at birth is Gange. That's Gange down here. Birth forename, Frederick. Sex, male. I'm not going to bother putting mother's maiden name here. We don't really need it. We've got all the information we need. District of birth is Taunton. Quarter is July, August, September. Volume, is 5C and it's page 427. So 5C 427 and then search. And here is the certificate that you can look at as a digital image. Now, if we look up here, you'll see the reason I like to look at digital images rather than certificates or PDFs is the cost. They're only £3. When I started doing family history in the early 2000s, this was not an option. You had to get these sent to you by post, and they usually cost around about £7 plus postage. These days, you can get, obviously, you can get them here for £3, and they appear on your screen. Or you get a PDF, which costs £8 and can be downloaded using My Orders, which is another section which I'll show you in just a second. And a certificate, a paper certificate. These are what you'd need to buy for marriages, births after 1923, and deaths after 1957. But for us, we can just use a digital image. So if we click on there, then we come to the ordering, which I'm not going to go through. It's fairly straightforward and standard. And I've already got this. So what I will do is I'll just bring this up on from my files. So these are all the certificates that I've either bought paper ones originally, or I have downloaded the digital images. And some are certificates that I've had to buy because of marriage. But we are looking for this. Birth FGG 1923. This is the digital image you get. Now, as you can see, it is just a strip. If you got a PDF of the original, it would be the entire certificate. That said, this is all you need to see. This is all you need to know, really. It tells us that my dad was born on the 12th of June in 1923. 7 E Street was the address in Taunton. So that is a rumour. That is now a verified fact. His name's Frederick George, a boy. His father's name, there should be a row of titles here that you get when you do a digital image. I'm not sure why they're not showing on here, but I can tell you what they are. So his father's name's Frederick Joseph Gange. Now there's the Joseph. So it would appear that people called my grandfather Joseph, and when he died, they called my dad Joseph. People did that sort of thing. Mother's maiden name, Dora Maud Gange, formerly Monk. So we now have a name for both my grandparents. on my dad's side, and we have a maiden name as well. So that's another rumour that is verified. This is father's occupation, and he was a fruiterer and master, so like a greengrocer who specialised in fruit. Here is the person reporting it, so getting the certificate, and that is DM Gange, Dora Maud Gange, the mother, and she resides at 7 East Street in Taunton. And this is the registry date. Now it's the 19th of July 1923. So that is why it's in September and not June quarters. Right, so from there we have got this information. And from there we are now going to get marriage certificates of Frederick Joseph Gange and Dora Maud Monk. So, using the same technique, we are going to do a new query. We're going to go to marriage, surname Gange, first name Frederick again, and spouse's name, surname Monk, and first name Dora. And we don't actually know when they were married. Now, it's probably a wise bet to go small spans of time in one go and then work your way backwards or forwards rather than going through all of them. Because you never know, there might be lots of Dora Monks who married Frederick Ganges. But let's do the date from March 1918, the end of the last year of the First World War, and December 1923, when my father was born. And we're not going to use this because we don't know if they were married in Somerset or if they were married somewhere else and they moved to Taunton and Somerset afterwards. So let's just find out. And we have hit the jackpot again. So as you can see, marriage is March 1920, so they were married in that quarter. Grandfather's there, Frederick J. Gange. Spouse, Monk. District, Southampton. Volume 2C, page 53. So if we look at the page, we can see that on the same day there was somebody called Ellen Bendel who got married to a Stanley C. Lawrence. That was in that quarter anyway. Right, so we have this information now. We can do the same as we did before. And that is go to the General Register Office website. Now, as you can see, the digital images are only good for births, that time frame, as I said, and the deaths. So if you want a marriage certificate, you are going to need to order an actual paper one or a PDF. Right, so England and Wales, it's a marriage, it's 1920. I know the GRO reference because I used FreeBMD. So, if we go Gange, Frederick, surname Monk, forename Dora, and the quarter was March. The district was Southampton. There it is, Southampton. Volume number 2C. And page 53. So our only options here are either a standard £12.50 dispatch. Okay, it looks like a PDF is not available of this, so I would have to order a paper one. Now, I did that a very long time ago before I used this system, and I do have that certificate here. I do recommend you buy certificates. It may seem like a lot of money if you do lots and lots, but budget yourself, and you'll see why when I open up the the marriage certificate of my grandparents. So I do recommend that you have some sort of filing system like that. This, when you get loads of them, you'll appreciate it. So M is for marriage. Gange Monk, 1920, is this one. And here it comes. Whoops. Don't know why it always loads like that. When I scanned this, because I have the original paper one. When I scanned it, it cut the edge off. But I'll be talking about what's on there in just a moment. But look at this. There is a lot of information here. And I mean a lot of information. So 1920. Marriage solemnised at the parish church in the parish of St. Mary's, Southampton, in the county of Southampton. Okay, so they got married on January the 19th, 1920. Frederick Joseph Gange, Dora Maud Gange, and it has their ages. So from this, you can then calculate the year of birth. Because they're married January 19th, then there's a good chance that their birthdays fell afterwards. They may have had a birthday before that, but it would be a good guess that their birthday fell afterwards. So you'd put in a year. If you were searching on FreeBMD again, you could put in a year of 1893 to 1895. You can do a plus or minus thing there. So he was 26, which means he would have been born in 1893 or 4. Dora Maud Monk would have been born in either 1900 or 1899. His condition, which means, was he married or single? He was a bachelor, and she was a spinster. A rank or profession, he was a wireless, PORN, not porn. That is a petty officer, Royal Navy. So he was a wireless petty officer in the Royal Navy. Portchester. So residence of time marriage. He was living in Portchester, which is near Portsmouth, which kind of goes with the whole Royal Navy thing. And she was living in 69 Chantry Road, which is in the chapel area of Southampton and not very far from St. Mary's. Okay, his father's name was Joseph Frederick Gange. That's interesting because, spoiler alert, I have done a lot of research on this, and his actual name is Frederick Joseph. And if you see here, he's actually signed F.J. Gange. Come to that in a second. And he's a shore that's cut off. It says shore bosun. Dora Maud's father is George Francis Monk, and lo and behold, he is a butcher. So that is another rumour, now a verified fact. And it says again, they were married in the parish church, rites and ceremonies of the established church of Banns. So these are their signatures. Nice to have their own signatures on there. In the presence of George F. Monk and F.J. Gange. Also, G. Green. I believe that's an S. Trust me, it's an S. I'm pretty sure. No, could be not. Yeah, it is. This is N.S. Gange, and that is also Nellie Susan Gange. I just know that because I've done this research. Of course, when I looked at this first, I didn't, and that was a very interesting research path to go down. So, as you can see, there's a lot of information. We can now go and get these birth certificates, and from then, we'll find out what Joseph Frederick Gange was, his occupation at the time. We'll get to know what George Francis Monk's occupation was at the time, and also where they were living, and etc., etc., etc. So, as you can see, you can build up a tree very quickly doing this. So that was how to get started. Next video, we're going to show you how to not only grow your tree, but put leaves on the tree. See you then. Bye.